The human mind, though invisible, holds power more colossal than steel, more precise than machinery, more sacred than gold. It is a theater where reality is scripted long before it's lived. And here's the truth few ever realize. Your mind does not obey reality as Sado, it obeys rehearsal. This is a secret most overlook. You don't become successful and then feel confident. You feel confident for stars and then begin to act in ways that create success. You rehearse the emotion, the posture, the speech, the decisions. Over time, the world follows your lead. This is why the practice of acting as if is not about arrogance or fantasy. It's about conditioning your nervous system to recognize certainty as its native state. Every great mind from history understood this truth, not by accident, but by experimentation. Napoleon Hill himself wrote that faith is a state of mind that may be induced by autosuggestion. That means belief doesn't just fall into your lap. It's built like a house, brick by brick. You tell your subconscious who you are again and again until it forgets you were ever anything else. When you act as if everything always works out, you are not pretending, you are rehearsing certainty. You are informing your body, your voice, your choices aside, that no matter what external noise screams otherwise, you are the calm at the center of the storm. The world may move in chaos, but your belief becomes your compass. Your repetition becomes your truth. Think of Thomas Edison. While the world mocked his thousands of failed light bulbs, Edison rehearsed victory with every strike of his tools. He didn't wait for the results to confirm his identity. He acted as if the solution was already his. That is what allowed him to endure what others could not pass. The mental rehearsal of success gave his body endurance and his mind direction. The subconscious mind learns through repetition, not logic. So the more often you walk like it's working, speak like it's working, invest like it's working, believe like it's working, the more your internal programming shifts to support that story. And here's the key. The world responds not to your words, but to your frequency. You carry yourself like someone. Things work out for Alce and things begin to align accordingly. This is not magic, it's mechanism. The reticular activating system in your brain, precede, the part that filters what you notice and what you ignore, IUC, begins highlighting opportunities, people, and ideas that serve your dominant assumption. If you rehearse worry, it finds more reasons to worry. If you rehearse confidence, it finds more reasons to walk forward. So you must train your body and mind to respond with certainty, even when there's no evidence per se, because the evidence comes after the rehearsal. So many people make the mistake of waiting for approval, waiting for signs, waiting for validation. But champions initiate. They walk in before the doors even open. They move with the energy of this is mine before they ever touch it. And this doesn't make them reckless, Sasha. It makes them prepared. The world bends not for those who beg, but for those who believe. When you rehearse the belief that everything always works out, you are choosing to live by design, not reaction. You're scripting a mental future that's so detailed, so emotionally charged, that your body begins to behave like it's already arrived. It's not denial, it's discipline. So if you're wondering how to start, don't wait for your circumstances to change. Start with the way you enter the room. Start with the way you speak about your ideas. Start with the way you carry your body, your presence, your attention. You don't need the evidence yet. Tada, you need the rehearsal. Because in the theater of life, the ones who win are the ones who practice the part before they get the role. And when you train your mind to believe that everything always works out, sought not by chance, but by choice, you become a magnet for solutions. You stop chasing outcomes and start commanding outcomes. Walk like it's happening, speak like it's unfolding, think like it already belongs to you. The world will follow your lead. The second you believe the outcome is inevitable, your behavior transforms. The second you stop asking if it's possible and start expecting it to be real, something inside you shifts, your posture adjusts, your pace changes, you begin to operate like someone who has already arrived. And that shift, that inner adjustment, is where power lives. Most people live their lives negotiating with possibility. They seek permission from the world before they allow themselves to commit. But the truth is this, us. The world doesn't give you certainty. You bring certainty to the world. You don't look for signs that it's working. You decide it's working, and then the signs appear. Napoleon Hill taught us that the mind is a fertile garden. Else it will grow whatever is planted. Whether that seed is doubt or destiny, if you constantly entertain what might go wrong, your actions will reflect hesitation. You'll delay, retreat, overanalyze. But if you begin to think like the person who knows it will go right, you move with energy, creativity, and direction. You're not afraid to act because in your world, it's already done. Look at history. Henry Ford once said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. He wasn't speaking in riddles, he was laying out a law. Your belief creates your behavior, and your behavior shapes your results. It's not complicated, but it's very OSE because most people wait. They wait to feel ready, they wait to see proof, and in that waiting, they stagnate. Acting with inevitability doesn't mean being blind to risk. Pause. It means you've already calculated it, decided it's worth it. You don't need reassurance every step of the way because you've already seen the outcome in your mind. You've already walked through it internally. So when challenges come, they don't dismantle you, they activate you. When you move with conviction, the world mirrors it back to you. People trust your energy because it's grounded. It's not desperate, not needy, not reactive. It's deliberate, confident, and most importantly, it's consistent. Imagine two people selling the same idea. One says, I hope this works, I think it might. The other says, this will work, I've already committed. Who do you follow? Who do you invest in? The one who has already burned the ships. The one who is all in. That's what it means to act as if everything always works out. So that you move forward with certainty. Not because you've seen the outcome, but because you've chosen it. You've built it brick by brick in your imagination. And now you're laying it down in reality. When Napoleon Hill studied the great builders of wealth and vision, Abels, Carnegie, Rockefeller, Edison, DCA, he didn't find people who waited for ideal conditions. He found people who declared in advance who they were becoming. Their success wasn't reactive, it was premeditated. That's your challenge now, to see the outcome before the world hands it to you. To carry yourself in a way that tells the world, I'm not hoping for this, so I am becoming it. So walk into rooms like they were made for you. Speak your ideas like the world is waiting. Treat your vision not as a question, but as a direction. Because when you do that, hesitation dies, fear dissolves, and action becomes natural. Here's the truth. Success doesn't come to the most talented, it comes to the most convinced. You don't get what you want. You get what you expect. So raise your expectation and move like it's already yours. The moment you begin to act in alignment with the version of yourself who has already succeeded, you begin collapsing the gap between where you are and where you intend to be. And that collapse doesn't happen by accident. It's not magic, nor is it luck. It's the result of identity becoming congruent with intention. You see, most people live in a state of mental contradiction. They desire success but behave like someone waiting for permission. They speak of abundance but move with scarcity. They say they want impact but they think like someone trying to avoid judgment. These contradictions are invisible. Fences is subtle yet powerful enough to keep a person trapped in the same cycle year after year. But what happens when you close that gap? What happens when the way you speak, move, think, and decide finally reflects the reality you claim to want? That's where the shift begins. And it's not gradual, it's often immediate, because life doesn't respond to what you say you want. I respond to who you're being. When Hill wrote whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve, he wasn't offering optimism. He was pointing to the mechanics of identity. Belief alters perception. It changes how you interpret reality. When you believe you're the type of person who figures things out, obstacles become puzzles, not problems. When you believe you're someone with value, rejection becomes redirection, not a verdict. And belief isn't passive. It's not sitting in a corner visualizing endlessly. It's not chanting affirmations into the void, hoping they manifest. Belief is built. It's sculpted by repetition. By choosing again and again to act from a place of already having rather than still needing. So the question becomes, how would your future self move today? Would they hesitate before making that call? Would they shrink in a room full of opportunity? Would they procrastinate on their vision, waiting for better timing or better validation? Of course not, because they've already decided who they are, and that decision bleeds into everything: power, posture, rhythm, presence. To act as if everything works out is to strip away the excuses, the delays, the endless waiting for confirmation, and to step directly into the energy of inevitability. It's to recognize that your current circumstances are not the problem, your current identity is, because here is the uncomfortable truth: you will never outperform your self image. If deep down you believe you're not worthy of being listened to, you'll speak quietly. If you believe money is for other people, you'll subconsciously reject every opportunity to earn more. And if you believe greatness requires credentials, you'll keep collecting certificates instead of building courage. What shifts your life is not waiting for proof, is becoming the proof, living like the version of you who has nothing left to prove, acting not for applause, but from alignment. When you start living that way, also something rare happens. People feel it, doors open, conversations change, and more importantly, you change, not because the world allowed it, but because you declared it. You don't need to fake anything. You're not pretending to be someone you're not. You're practicing being who you already are, underneath the fear, the history, the hesitation. So let today be the day you stop negotiating with your old self. Let today be the day you stop playing small to make others comfortable. You don't need to explain it, you just need to embody it. The world bends not to wishes, but to energy anchored in identity. So move like your future is already here. Because in truth, it's waiting on you. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that action must be driven by motivation. You must feel like it before you do the thing. But those who understand the psychology of greatness know this truth: emotion follows motion. The feeling you think you need to begin will only arrive after you've begun. Napoleon Hill didn't build Think and Grow Rich on fantasy or fleeting motivation. He built it on cause and effect. He wrote about definiteness of purpose not because it sounds noble, but because it's a lever for behavior. When you act like someone who already knows the outcome is in their favor, hesitation dissolves. And when hesitation disappears, momentum is born. See, the mistake most people make is confusing action with mere busyness. They'll spend hours planning, tweaking, researching, preparing but never initiating. That isn't aligned behavior. That's avoidance, dressed as productivity. And what does that lead to? A lifetime of near success stories in almost moments. But when you begin to act as your future self would act, also decisively, consistently, unapologetically, the compound effect kicks in. That's when small moves start bending reality in your favor. You're not just making progress, you're becoming magnetic to the very outcomes you used to chase. Why? Because aligned action doesn't just move projects forward. It transforms identity. Every time you act boldly, you signal to your subconscious that this is who you are now. And the subconscious doesn't argue, it doesn't analyze, it obeys. You become what you consistently do. And more precisely, you become what you consistently act on, regardless of how you feel in the moment. Think of Edison, How many thousands of failures did he endure while inventing the light bulb? Yet, he didn't stall for motivation. He didn't wait until he was sure it would work. He kept moving forward because he was already living in the belief that success was inevitable. That's not delusion, That's discipline of the highest form. And here's something most don't realize: aligned action isn't always loud or grand. Sometimes it looks like making that difficult phone call. Sometimes it's saying no when the old you would have said yes. Sometimes it's showing up early, speaking last, listening more, or turning off distractions. These aren't just tactics, They are declarations. Each one says, I am already the person who gets results. The tragedy is when people live waiting, waiting for the right sign, the right mood, the right affirmation from someone else. But waiting is expensive. It drains energy, breeds anxiety, and validates doubt. Action, on the other hand, clears the fog. With each forward step, the path reveals itself. That's not just poetic language, I see, it's neuropsychology. The brain's reward system doesn't activate from thoughts, brachios, it activates from movement. So ask yourself, what would your future self do today if they were living this very moment? Not next week, not next year, today. Because that's the version of you who isn't bound by fear or validation or convenience. That version acts because they already know who they are. The actions they take aren't for show, I see, they're for alignment. And when your current actions match your future identity, the universe begins to respond in kind. No, because it's magical, lossy, but because everything in your environment, from your tone to your habits, begins operating on a new frequency. Don't overthink. Don't wait to be more confident. Confidence is not the cause of action, us. It is the consequence of it. So move boldly, not because you're ready or sauce, but because you're done waiting to become who you already are. Here is what most people don't understand about reality. It is far more flexible than it appears. Not because the world changes on a whim, but because perception molds outcome. When you start acting as if everything always works out, you begin to train your mind to interpret resistance not as a stop sign, ASE, but as a signal to lean in. Napoleon Hill made this clear when he said, every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. That's not a comforting phrase for hard times. That's a principle for navigation. The individuals who shape their lives deliberately are those who interpret their setbacks as setups. They respond to loss with curiosity instead of despair. They look at chaos and ask, where's the opportunity? But you can only do that if your internal belief is already anchored in a future that favors you. That belief says that everything is working out. That belief says that everything is working out. That belief says that everything is working out is a naivety. It's strategic perception, because how you interpret the moment directly impacts the energy, creativity, and momentum you bring into the next one. You've seen it. Two people go through the same storm. Osage, one breaks, the other bends and builds. What's the difference? Internal meaning. One believes life is conspiring against them. The other believes life is constructing them. And that single distinction unlocks 1,000 different outcomes. Now, understand the society acting as if everything always works out is not denial. It's not ignoring pain, failure, or setbacks. It's choosing to respond from power, not panic. It's refusing to let temporary circumstances rewrite your permanent identity. It's saying this isn't the end, it's a page in the process. When you move from that mindset, your emotional state stabilizes. You don't crumble at the first sign of rejection. You don't spiral when plans change. You adapt, recalibrate, and continue, wasa. Because your belief system is calibrated to a higher frequency than circumstance. This is where people get it wrong. They think life is about controlling outcomes. But real power comes from mastering your internal response to the unknown. When you train your mind to believe that even detours are part of the design, you stop resisting reality and start flowing with it. And ironically, that's when you begin to shape reality, SAD, because your energy is now aligned with creation, not protection. There's a subtle magic that occurs when you act from that belief. People sense that they trust your calm in chaos. They're drawn to your clarity when things fall apart. Opportunities find their way to you not by chance, but because your energy signals that you're ready, not reactive, and readiness magnetizes results. Think about it. If you truly knew that everything was working out for your highest good, how differently would you show up? How much bolder would your decisions be? How much faster would you recover? That's not just a mindset, that's an identity shift. You don't have to have all the answers, you just need to adopt a belief that every step IOC, even the painful one C, is progress. That faith allows you to act with courage and uncertainty. And courage, consistently applied, builds an unshakable life. So here's the truth. The world isn't going to bend for someone who doubts every step, but it will yield to those who move with conviction, who act as if the outcome is inevitable, SAT, because that belief transforms the journey itself. Believe not because it's easy, but because it's essential. Train your mind to see beyond the storm. Believes, and you'll find that life begins to meet you with less resistance and more reward.